Hey guys, so I have this ceramic horse and I tried to draw it while my Steam Lab loaded an update. So you didn't see me sketch it. But how did I do? Did I do this little horsey justice? I think I did. I like my little sketch. All right, let's paint this. All right, so let's mix up a black, blue, yellow, and red make black. But these three colors, blue, red, and yellow, also make brown. The brown, the more you add maybe red and yellow, the more it pushes it towards brown. The more you add the blue is what pushes it towards black. So you have to play with your proportions a little bit and do your tests to see how your blues, reds, and yellows react. And I want to just say about this video is going to have a lot of voiceover because I did this video while I was waiting for Steam Labs to update. I did this video while chatting to my friends. I did this painting while doing all of that stuff. So I was really distracted and I wasn't really focused on the commentary all that much. I just wanted it to sit down and paint while things updated. But since I was doing a horsey and this was going to be my horsey, I said, you know what, I'll voice it over later. So now I'm getting a brownish color from that blue and that red mix. And you know what we need to do? I think we need to do a color wheel because then we would get into color mixing theory and how this isn't actually brown, it's red violet because blue and red make red violet. Depending on which side you push it to, whether you push it to the blue side. If you push it to the blue side of the violet, then it's blue violet. If you add more red, then it's red violet. So it all depends. And then if it's right smack in the middle, then it's just violet. Boy, and I have a pet peeve about violets and reds and blues that I will probably go into a rant a whole lot later when I'm trying to get a nice purple out of trying to mix red and blue together. I So now I'm testing this red blue mix and I'm getting a nice blackish looking color that I like. But I want to see what happens when I try to add yellow to it. So this is what I'm trying to do, see what color I get when I add yellow to it. And so I'm trying to get a good amount of yellow on that brush so that when I mix it in with that red and that blue, I can actually see some sort of a difference on what this color is going to look like. And when I did my first swatch of it, meaning just test, when I did my first test, I guess I got too much water on my brush or too much of that mixture on my brush. But you can see it looks a little bit greeny in the picture, that watery mix there. And so I did it again. So I'm doing it again. And then can you see that first one looks a little bit yellowish? So I pushed it too much to the yellow side, so I added too much yellow. So it's kind of a dance when I'm mixing my colors. And I love color mixing because it's always cool to see what comes out and what. So here I am just adding a whole lot of water because I'm going to dilute this color. So the color that I just mixed, I'm going to take up here. I'm taking it up and I'm just making it light enough because we're going to start painting with this. And I usually start painting light before I put in my darks and all of that. So I go light and then I darken as I go. So we're going to start here and we're going to look whatever this yellowish, darkish looking color is, we're going to start painting with that and then we'll adjust. So here we go. And this one is going to be slower than the rest of them because as I said, I'm just relaxed and I'm just painting and I'm just taking my time. You see this brush? This brush is way too small to be painting this much color on this horse, but that's the brush that I wanted to paint with, so I just decided to use this brush and just paint and chat with my. So this original painting video I just set up my camera and just started painting. This whole painting video that I'm editing right now, this one that you're watching, is actually 2 hours long. So I'm editing a 2 hour long video. So I'm going to be cutting bits and pieces of this out. What I'm actually doing here in this painting session is I let the camera run and I'm just painting. And what I'm doing is I'm watching my friends play this new game called Hightail, and I want to play with them, but I don't have the game at the time of this video. I don't have the game yet, so I was watching them play to see if I wanted to buy the game and play with them or not. So I did buy the game eventually, and I am playing with them now. But here I was just painting and watching them play. So I'm going to be cutting bits of this out as we go. So I just wanted to tell you why this video is like this. So here on this horse, what I'm doing is I'm filling in that light color that I mixed on this horse's leg. And while I am doing that, I am thinking this is way too yellow. Do you see how yellow that horse's leg is? It's way too yellow. So at some point, I am going to push that yellowish, darkish looking color back to more of a darker blackish looking color by adding more blue and more red. So let's fast forward a bit. I did fill in the whole horsey with this yellowish blackish looking color, yellowish darkish looking color. So now I added yellow to this, and this is just plain yellow. I didn't mix anything in there with it at all. This is just yellow, and I wanted to fill in the background with this, just so that I get some contrast because the horse's hair is white. So I wanted the background to tell me how white this hair is. if I don't know if that makes any sense, but I wanted some contrast between the background and the horse's hair or the horse's feet because this horse is a black and white horse. So I didn't want the background to be just white. So I decided that I was going to make an evening scene and I was going to start with this yellow. So then I filled in the whole background here with this yellow wash. So again, I didn't change the size of the brush. I was just, I was just in the zone with this brush and I just continued on with this brush all the way. So I'm going to pause here and finish this whole background with yellow. You can pause me too if you're following along and fill in your background with whatever background color you want. But this is what I'm doing here. I'm just filling in this background with yellow. That's all. Um, So here we are 3 minutes later, and I'm almost done with my yellow background. So I'm gonna let you finish up. I'm gonna finish up, and then we can continue with some more background because I'm not done. I was in the background mood, and so I did a little bit more work on the back. So now I'm going to add a little bit of red to that yellow that I used for the background. So I'm going to move this horse out the way so I don't get it messed up. And I'm going to add whichever red. I was like, let's just add a red. So I added that out. My intention was to add the scarlet red, but I went into the other red instead, but it's fine. I just wanted an orange color, so adding that red to that yellow that I originally used was just to make an orange color. So now that I have that orange, I'm putting some water into this one to make it a little bit lighter. So I'm going to test how light this orange is. It's pretty light, so I'm just going to go with this one. And my intention here is just to go around the rim of this painting with this orange, just to have a little bit of a different color other than that yellow. Just to mix in a little bit of orange with that yellow, just to, make the sky look a little bit nice, like an evening sky. So I'm going to do yellow and orange for the sky. So to explain what I'm doing here, I'm just going in with that orange and I'm dropping in the orange, dropping in the orange, right? And then I'm going into the water and fading that orange, the edges of that orange with water, so they're nice and smooth. and no jagged edges, no really hard edges. So I just wanted a smooth transition between that orange and that yellow, without any hard lines. So I'm using the water to smooth it out. And then I did this all around the painting until I was satisfied with it, until I was satisfied that I had enough orange right around the edge. So let's fast forward a bit, and then we'll see what the finished thing looks like. All right, and then I finished up with the underneath of this horse where his belly is. So same thing, dropping in that orange and then fading it out. So this is kind of the feel that I wanted. You see now how that white is looks very, very white now. The hair and the white of the body just looks it pops out now against that background color. That's what I wanted for myself, to see how now we're better able to judge how dark things are and how light things are going to be just by having that yellowish orange background there. And I mean, it could be any color background, but I just wanted to be able to have some contrast to be able to judge how dark things are going to get and how light things are going to be. So I let this dry, and now I'm trying to address my line work. So I did something really strange here, and in hindsight, it don't make any sense. But when I was painting it, I had this idea to paint over the lines with paint. Now, I still wanted to get rid of the pencil lines, so I was going to get rid of them with the eraser. But what ended up happening was a little disaster at the beginning. So my idea was to maybe fade in, and then here, because the eraser is a little bit wet, I ended up with a splotch like right there. You see that? You see that dark splotch? No, that in the main that just won't come out. It never came out. So now I have to paint over it. So yeah, don't do that. Don't while your painting is wet. Or maybe you made a wet spot in your painting. Don't try to go over it with eraser. It's gonna do that. So that's bad. And then also I was going over the lines with paint and also trying to erase. It wasn't good. But that's what I tried. It didn't work. And I'm still just trying things. So this particular thing didn't work. So let's move on. I am currently just trying to erase my pencil lines and paint the outline over with paint, with a light black paint, but I didn't really need to do that, so let's just move. Okay, so my disaster is over, and now I'm putting in, with my darkest dark, I'm putting in that eye for that horse. Okay, so now for the rest of this, all I'm going to do right now is work on darkening up this horse. So I'm going to just put on layers. I'm not very good at judging my darkest darks yet. So I'm just going to be putting on layers and layers and layers of the darker color to darken up this horse. So maybe I'll snip you through this. So let me try and do that a little bit faster and a little bit more efficient. So I started with his ears because it was the smallest part of his body. So I was just trying to darken up his ears and then work from there. And then I skipped down just a little bit because I wanted that area to be light, like a light highlight on its ear. So I skipped a piece and then went down to fill in the rest of it because I wanted to leave that part light to say that the light is hitting it there and his ear was a little bit curved. Curve. I'm trying to draw in shapes now. So that part of his cheek is round. So I'm trying to get that effect with the shading where I think another painting we need to do is like an apple or something so that we can learn how to shade an apple. I think that's the next painting stage that we need to do so that things like cheeks that are round, I can get that a little bit better, or mouths that are round. We can show that the rounding a little bit better with the shading. Right now it's not working out very well for me. So after trying that a little bit, so this is where we ended up with the cheek. Let's fill in that snout. So I left area for the mouth, which is kind of a smile. So I'm gonna try not to fill that in. And I left a little area here to say, okay, that area is white for the little snout. So like he has a white patch on his snout right there. That wasn't in the original horse, but I decided that I was gonna put it in because it would, for me, make him look a little bit nicer, cuter, to have a little white patch on his nose. So I'm just gonna finish up with this piece and then we can move on to the body. Okay, so I let all of that dry. So I always kind of let the paintings dry in between when I'm putting on different layers on it, just so that nothing smudges or anything like that. So I'm just gonna go over now and darken up all the areas of this horse that has a dark color on it. And that's all I'm gonna do. And I wish I had a horse story to tell you while we go through this process to make things darker. And I'm just painting over it with that color, that light color that you see I'm going into. It's a lighter color than the deepest dark that I mixed. Um, I don't really have a horror story. Um, Actually, maybe I do. I do. So, I think I was in Brazil and it wasn't a vacation, it was for work. And we decided to take on weekends when we were working off the island. So at the time I was in Jamaica and I was working for Super Clubs, the hotel chain. And they had a hotel in Brazil that we had to go to and do some work. And it was, I think, a 3 week trip, either 3 or 6 week. We were there for a very, very long time. And it could have been a 6 week trip, this one. And on the weekends, we were trying to find something to fill our time because we weren't really, if we were working on the weekends, we were doing reports and stuff on the weekends. Otherwise, it was kind of our time to kind of chill out and see what the hotel has to offer and maybe even go to a market and see what the country has to offer. So on this particular weekend, me and my friend decided, me, my friend, well, co-worker at the time too, we decided that we're going to maybe do a tour. And the tour we decided to do was the horseback riding tour. And I've never ridden a horse before, but I love horses. I just didn't get the opportunity to, or maybe not get the opportunity to, just never took the opportunity to do it. But I really love horses. And I have two horror stories actually. I remember Time and Patience now. Anyway, continuing with the hotel tour. So I'll tell you about Time and Patience later. That one's gonna be a quick one. But so we signed up for the horse tour, and I told the guide, I was like, okay, so what you dealing with here? I've never ridden a horse before. I don't know how to ride, and I am a total beginner, so I don't know what to expect. The guy was like, Don't worry about it. You don't need any experience with these horses. These horses are already trained. All you have to do is stay on. So basically, stay on and hold on. That's all you have to do to the reins. You don't have to guide him anywhere. He knows the route. You're gonna be fine. And he is trained to follow me. I'm gonna be at the front and he's just going to be following him and the other horses behind. You don't have to do anything. Just hold on and enjoy the ride and enjoy the scenery. You can even take pictures if you want to along the way. So I was like, oh, this sounds perfect. And it was true. Yeah, I got onto the horse, you hold on to the reins, and there was no starting this horse. This horse just started to walk when the guide's horse in front started to walk. He didn't turn off or anything. If you tried to turn him anywhere, he wasn't going in your direction or any other direction. He was focused on the horse in front and he was just walking in the direction with the horse in front. There was no stop horse, there was no turn horse, there was nothing like that. He was just following the horse, and if the guide stopped, he stopped. If the guide continued on, he continued on. So it was super easy. You didn't have to do anything. Literally all you had to do was enjoy the ride. And I enjoyed it thoroughly, that walk around. So what it was a walk around the property with the horse. So it was nice to have a nice slow walk, not you having to walk, but and having a horse ride. And it was good. I really enjoyed myself and I continue to like horses to this day. All right, so let's talk about time and patience. So my mom had a friend. I say had because unfortunately he passed away. But when I was a kid, uh, he was a farmer and he had a dairy farm. And we went to the farm to have a visit. And he said, "Hey, I hear you like horses." I was like, "Yeah, but aren't we here to see the cows?" He's like, "I'll show you the cows, but since you like horses, I'm going to introduce you to two." I was like, "Oh, cool, that's exciting." I was like, "Can I ride them?" No, you can't, because you don't know how to ride the horses, and they're not for riding. I don't remember what he said the horses were for, but they weren't riding horses, so they weren't saddled or anything like that. They were just there. And this is my child recollection here. So I think I was about 14 or something like that. And we were taking a tour of the dairy farm. But before the dairy farm tour, I got introduced to these horses. And one was Time and the other one was Patience. And they were mom and daughter horses. And I got to feed them. So I got to feed them an apple each. So I got two apples and I got to feed them. So that was really cool. Um, and that was a really cool experience. So those are my two horror stories. So, oh, I have a third one. I have a third one. Louisiana. My husband is from Louisiana, and his mom's best friend uh, had at the time when she was living there, she now has moved, but she had horses while she was living there. And I got no riding this time. I got to pet them, and they were nice horses. They made me pet them and everything. They didn't act all weird or oh please don't touch me kind of thing. No, then I was able to pet them and stuff, and that's my horse experience. So not a lot of juicy horse stories, but that's my experience with horses. So whenever I get a chance to paint a horse, I will try and do my best with the horses because I actually really love horses. Horses is maybe my number two animal that I love. The first animal, the number one animal that I love is tigers. And I'll be satisfied with just looking at them at the zoo. Thank you very much. But I do take some time to visit them at the zoo when I get a chance. So yeah, that's my horse story. But but yeah, just darkening up this painting. So I'm going to, since I'm all out of stories, switch forward a bit to show you how dark I got this horse. So I'm gonna stop here and we're gonna maybe do some shots. So this one, look at this one, and I'm gonna stop here and then we're gonna fast forward a little. So now I'm working on the tail, and my vision for the tail was a two-colored tail. So some of it would be white and some of it would be black, but I wasn't very successful in trying to figure out how to be able to do this. So I struggled through this part as well, how to make I wanted the black part of the tail to like be coming out of the white part of the tail, but I don't think I got that effect very well. But this is me trying to envision a two-toned tailed horse. um, so that was kind of I was kind of trying that out. So let's again fast forward a little bit more and see where we get to. Okay, so right now I am making some strokes, some I guess fur strokes on his hoofs, just to say, okay, he's walking on them. They get a little bit dirty, so they might be a little bit darker here on the hoofs of his feet. So I'm just putting that in. So I did the two front ones already, and now I'm working on the back ones. Just a few strokes. I'm going up and down with the brush, alternating. All right, so I'm switching my focus now to this back leg, and this back leg gave me a whole bunch of trouble. I think I complicated things by wanting two highlights. So you see those two very light areas? I wanted to keep those as highlights. But while I'm looking at it right now through hindsight perspective and actually looking at this painting from a video perspective, I'm seeing that those two highlights don't really work for me. So, but what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to darken up the area in between those two light spots to make it look, make the highlights stand out a little bit more. But what you'll see in the finished painting is I removed the top one and just left the that bottom highlight there um, alone. So that's what you'll see in the finished one. That I covered over the top that top highlight because the two highlights were not working. It made the leg look very weird. Right. So weird isn't a very good descriptive word. It looked like his leg was wavy, and I didn't want a wavy looking leg. I wanted a full round, muscular looking leg. And here I went back to his face. I went back to his ear and I went back to like the side of his face. But a lot of that is covered up by my hand. So I'm going to maybe focus on hand position for the next one. Maybe give you a better view next time. So this was a fun part. So I have another little mixing container right there. And I mixed a little brown. So what I did was I took some of the black and put in there and then red and yellow and put in there and make brown. And I'm mixing that because I'm putting a little dirt on his hooves. So so that little paint palette is a little squid and he's holding little tiny bowls. So that's my little tiny paint palette. So I'm going through, so he's holding brown and I'm going through the legs exactly where I put those strokes for those, the light dark blackish looking color. I'm also putting strokes for brown. So it would give him a feel of walking through a little bit of dirt because, you know, the ground's dirty. So he's walking through a little bit of dirt and it's catching on his beautiful white hooves. Okay, so mixed up a little bit more of that orange with that red and that yellow, and now I'm going back over. Remember what we did first in that first exercise, where so I'm laying down a little bit more orange. I'm making this piece a little bit brighter. So going into the orange, putting it down, and then just going over it with some water to smooth it out. I'm doing the same thing with that yellow. So just adding a little bit more yellow to the painting. I'm brightening it up because I want a brighter background. Now that the horse is a little bit darker, I want that yellow sky to stand out a little bit more. That yellow orange sky to stand out a little bit more. So I am adding more yellow to brighten up this background to fit the how dark this horse is. And after I brightened up the background, I'll show you in a little bit. I decided to mix up some green, so with some yellow and some blue. The same yellow and blue that I used originally. Put a little bit more yellow in there because I wanted to maybe lighten up the green a little bit. There you go. I decided to add grass. Because just leaving like this, I wanted to have him walking on the ground and not walking in the sky. So I decided to put grass under his feet. And so I just it's still a little bit wet because remember I just went over it with the and you can see how shiny the paper is. It's shiny because there's still water on it, and so while there was still a little bit of water on it from the brightening up of the orange and the yellows that I just put on, I decided to put on some green. So we're coming down to the end, and thank you for staying with me so this long. I hope you enjoyed this painting. And I did do some adjustments offline, so when we load this into the Sims, you'll see the finished product. But for now, we're stopping here, and I hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you in the next one.